Dumb. Cool.
Weird.
Podcast.
Things to come.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. Every Town USA, transatlantic accents, warlords, never-ending war with Germany is what they suspected, I guess, back in the 1930s.
Yeah, something like that.
It makes sense, though, because they thought they were probably going to get stuck in the trenches again, but longer.
Yep. In this movie, it's an H.G. Wells movie, and basically this is before the World War II really went into effect, so they were kind of predicting what the war was going to be like, and let's just say it didn't end well.
Well, and what's interesting is during the film is that they would say things like, oh, the man from that place, that dreaded place, from that country. It's like, they won't attack. There's no war.
Yep. And basically they were singing the bells. They were singing the bells of Christmas, and they were all happy, and they're like joy to the world. Like they were like singing all the fucking songs.
And then they were just like attacked overnight.
Yep, basically they were like, "Oh, look, it's fireworks. It can only be fireworks." And then they're like, "Oh, well, there's."
Why is the air siren going on? Why are the air maneuvers going on?
Yep, and then that's when they figured out they were being attacked, and then they were like, "Oh, well, let's change our tune real quick."
It's off to war, everybody! And everyone, all the men, literally just got like dressed up in their uniforms, and were like, "Yep, gotta go to war."
Yeah, and the funny thing is the most important thing is before this, they were all kind of sitting around pondering about progress, and they talked about progress so much. And by the way, progress
is the word of the day.
Is the word of the day.
Progress.
Yeah, in this movie, they talk about progress so damn much. But basically, the war happens, and it happens for like a decade or two?
It was like it went on until like 1966 because they had a plague. And then for like another few years, they had like these plague people roaming around, and they named like the one guy who shot all of the plague people. They're like chief warlord.
Yep, chief warlord. They had a warlord over in Britain. And the thing is apparently none of the technology worked anymore, so they were kind of just working with what they got.
And the warlord banned books and thinking, but he had a master mechanic, and then he was wondering why nobody could think.
Think like Fahrenheit 451.
Exactly, except way more in the Stone Age, not enough technology, because in Fahrenheit, they just didn't care if they didn't read or learn anything. Yeah. In this world, they were basically told, yeah, you ain't learning shit.
Yeah, basically. It was actually really funny. And so what I would tell you guys is to check out Things to Come. It's very old, it's very dated by today's standards, but it's definitely really funny because they had a lot of weird ideas about how the future would be, because as it goes on, they go into the 70s, and in the 70s they're sitting here trying to develop like technology, like they're trying to get planes to work again. And so one of the guys from the engineering corps show up.
He was one or two guys, and there was one only real doctor.
Yep. And so when this guy from these group of engineers that are trying to redo the world, Nick calls them the actual elite.
No, the globalist elite.
And so they show up. The guy shows up. He looks like he's wearing a light bulb on his head.
Yeah.
And he's got like a plane that me and Nick were like, yeah, that probably wouldn't fly very well in real life. But
it was the zero aerodynamic skills. They kept him prisoner, and I love how the guy was threatening. It's like, oh yeah, if I don't show up on time, people are gonna like show up and do bad things. And nobody showed up for like a week.
Yep. They basically were like, I guess they're not going to attack, and we're going to do everything we can. But the thing is, it's like that guy obviously has a piece of technology that's way more advanced than what you have, and he's obviously wearing some weird suit that protects him. I think you should be a little worried about what they got.
But the warlord was so ignorant and stupid that he didn't predict anything would happen. And what I love is like, oh, all these thinkers and these people who could think, there's such a problem.
Yep.
They don't fall in line.
Yep. So basically what ends up happening, though, is after the warlord does a few things to get the planes working again, raids the oil field because, the oil fields are still set up, they basically decide to go to war against the engineers, and the engineers show up with, like, massive fucking planes, like literally hundreds of these fucking planes, and they have what do they call the bomb? Their bombs or gas?
Yeah, let's use the peace gas. So, but what was funny is they shot all the planes that they had out of all the warlords' planes out of the sky, and then they gassed them.
Yep, it was the gas of peace. It actually doesn't kill anybody. It just puts them to sleep so they can go in and take all their weapons and say, no more war.
Basically.
And so
The guy who died was the warlord because he killed himself.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, the warlord is dead. How convenient." And the warlord's wife, confidant, she's just like basically like switches sides at any chance she gets, and she decides she wants to be with them. And then at the very end of this whole, excursion of theirs, the engineers come together and they're like, well, now we're going to have a better world for our people, so let's start developing. And I swear to God, we get like a montage of like 15 minutes of them
Beakers and fucking like rolling and flashing lights and electricity just to show science was happening.
Yep, and basically we go through the 80s, the 90s, early 2000s, and then all the way up to 2032.
And what was great though is like when they get to 2032, people are so comfortable. You have this asshole who's like, yeah, you know what? Why do we have to live forever? Why do we have to shoot? Yeah, why do we have to live so peacefully? Why can't we have a little bit of death and confusion?
And I say, stop all this progress. This progress is too much. I miss the old days. And it's just like his buddies over there just kind of like sort of agreeing with him. He's like, yeah, okay.
He might be onto something. But the funnier part was they were still shooting people to the moon, like literally shooting them into the moon with a space gun.
Yep. I mean, some of the technology they had was like somewhat advanced than what we have now, but then some of it was like really stupid looking, and their outfits were terrible.
Dude, what was hilarious though is when the little girl's like, Grandpa, what was it like in the past? Oh, it was terrible. We had to use windows to get the light in our homes. We had, common colds and congestion. People used to sneeze and cry. And then I love what he's like, and the humor. Oh, all they had was their humor to keep them going through the dark times.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying. Like that's what happens. Like society becomes so advanced and so like peaceful, and you have everything you need. Basically, they're just like, well, they lost their sense of humor. Like kind of like
we won the war, but we lost our sense of humor.
Yeah, pretty much.
We may have lost the war, but we never lost our sense of humor.
Which is kind of like what's going on in this movie, and that's what's so funny about it. But basically, what ends up happening is like free speech is like they have extreme free speech in the society. So he basically just shows up to the free speech guy where he can make basically a message to everybody, like a video message, and he just basically says, "I say stop with all this progress."
No, but here's the thing though, right? It kind of predicted that with all of the technology and everything we have today, people are so like coddled that it didn't matter that they had any of like. I mean, the free speech thing is like a good thing, right? It's just people were so weak and stupid. They were like, you know what? I could go for a little bit of fucking chaos right about now.
Yep. They basically all just fall in line. After he gets done, they're all like rally together and they're like going to go destroy the space gun.
And that was funny because like even the super elites are like, but why? Why are you destroying this good thing we have here?
But they just, people don't care. They don't care. I mean, and then they all chase after him, and the guy's like, "Oh, you're primitive," because they go to the space gun. The guy goes, "Oh, you're a bunch of primitive stuff," and then he's like, "Oh no, we're gonna just do it anyway. We're gonna destroy the space gun anyway because what you're doing to those people is wrong." And it's like it's for science, and the other guy's like, "No, it's wrong."
Fuck it. They eventually get into space, but what a movie.
Yeah, they shoot him into space, and then like the guy who's played by the same actor that played the guy in the beginning of the movie basically gives this whole fucking speech about how like we're going to keep going further and further out into space. We're going to colonize other planets and all this other stuff. And then it just sort of ends.
It just stopped.
Yep. And I'm guessing that was a cool thing back in the day. It was one of those things that was one of those. What's up?
I'm just going to go take a piss.
Well, while he's taking a piss, I'm gonna wrap this thing up
before this flight goes off because they want to cram us in for about an hour, and then make us go up into the space gun in the sky.
Yeah, we're about to go into the space gun, but to wrap it up, basically this movie right here is a long, drawn out movie. I think it's about an hour and 35 minutes. It's very long. There's a lot of long scenes where there's not really a whole lot of talking going on, so. It's a lot of reading, a lot of craziness, and, it might have been really cool back in the day, but by today's standards, it's pretty dated, but it's still pretty funny to watch how people were back in the day. But if I were you guys, I would check out Things to Come.
So Nick, what was the dumb thing? So now we're doing the dumb, the cool, and the weird about the movies we've watched. So what is the dumbest thing about things to come?
So the dumbest thing about things to come was the fact that everything in society fell apart. Like all the long-standing peace after everything was established, this good life and everything, was when this one fucking guy, this master craftsman, is just like, what with all this progress? We can't keep shooting people to the moon for science.
Mm-hmm.
And just like he gets pissed off. He's like, why can't we have? Why do things have to be this way? Why do we have to live forever? Why do things have to be so good?
Yeah, and he blasts it to the entire
and everyone agreed,
agrees with it.
That was dumb.
That was so fucking stupid because I feel like that would not happen. Like people wouldn't listen that quickly to like somebody like that. They'd be like at least a little bit skeptical.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody was all for it, which is like weird.
Yeah, and it was so weird. I mean,
but it's dumb.
But it was dumb, and like we do the dumb, the cool, and the weird. Let's go ahead and tap into the weird. The weirdest part about this entire fucking movie is the fact that throughout the entire movie they have these long montages, these long fucking montages of things happening, and we're just like.
It goes on like for 10 minutes at a time.
Okay, we get it. You're developing technology.
Or it's like with the war. Like with the war, you see like the same trench, cross-to-cross trench warfare scenes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we get it. We get it.
And that actually took a lot of the movie out when you think about it. I mean, honestly, it was better than most transitioning in a lot of the other movies.
But it was so weird how long it went on for. It was like I think we got to like the 5-minute mark, and me and Nick were like, okay, we get it. We get it.
Especially with the science when they're advancing technology, all they do is like post up like what it's like a bunch of like flashing lights, a bunch of beakers, a bunch of electricity, like
a bunch of machines moving things here, moving things there,
smelters smelting.
Yeah, pretty much. And then what was really cool about it was the design for the engineers' technology. I like that part of the movie. Like basically the guy shows up in this really advanced plane wearing like a really crazy looking helmet. And I thought the design was kind of cool.
No, honestly, a lot of the concepts to their society was really cool. I think another thing that was cool was like how the peasants, how the people who've been living through the apocalypse had developed.
Yep.
Like that was also pretty cool to see because it makes sense to have like a post-apocalyptic world where you have like that level of tribalism.
Yep.
I thought that was what was cool about it.
Yep.
It's how they really set it up.
Yep, pretty much. And that was the dumb, cool, and weird about that movie.
Yes.
As usual, check out the podcast. Check out all of our other stuff. We have a website, www.retroredfilms.com. We have merch, all kinds of cool stuff. And check out our social media. Share, comment, like, and subscribe. Even if you don't like it, please give us a bad comment. We love that. And, as usual, stay sexy, Georgia, because Nick's not here to say it. And I hope you guys have a good fucking day. And we're about to get on this flight and go back to Georgia from Vegas. Vegas was great. We had a good time. And peace out.
Thanks for checking out the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. We're a movie podcast now, so Movie Monday is every Monday about crappy movies from the 20th century. It's going to be great, folks. I can't wait to show y'all.